Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the Dirty Pat Walsh channel here on YouTube. Me, your host, your friend, your guide through the meth end of town in Peterborough, Ontario, Patrick Walsh. Dirty Pat Walsh. Whatever you want to call me. It's all good. Dipping on Stoker's mint here. Just packing a little filler. All right. So I got a really nice comment from Elder Dilder saying that he likes my stories. So I'm gonna go way back to when I was a teenager, a boy of just 17. I believe I was 17. Maybe 18. I can't. Don't. It's the age I was is the year the album came out. So the album I'm referring to is the Jesus and Mary Chain Psycho Candy. Now, I grew up in the punk rock scene, and now granted, I also grew up in Oakville, Ontario, and we had a cool little punk rock scene, but it wasn't anything like what was going on in the major centers of it all, right? Even Toronto. Toronto has a huge legacy of wonderful punk rock and new wave bands, and all kinds of bands came out of Toronto. So yeah, suburban kid, But anyhow, so the Jesus and Mary Chain, I think they've turned themselves around a bit, because I know they're still doing stuff, and you would have never thought that back at the time when I saw them. The Jesus and Mary Chain were a punk rock band. That's the best way to describe them. From, I believe they're from Scotland, and there was, how many of them were there? I think there was two brothers and a drummer, and or maybe the brother. And it was two brothers, bass and guitar, and somebody on drums. I don't know who was what in the band, but I love them. I thought when I first heard Psycho Candy, which was their debut release, and it's funny because I haven't really been that thrilled by anything they put out since that album, but it blew me away. It sounds like chainsaws, It's like beautiful love ballads played on chainsaws. So it was right up my alley, and I loved it. So anyway, they came to Toronto to one of the larger places to play. This place called RPM. I don't know what it's called now. I have no idea what it is now. But back when I was a teenager, it was this kind of discotheque that would often have bands play at it. And so the Jesus and Mary Chain were playing. And it was an all-ages show. That was the other thing, getting into shows was a little difficult sometimes. Because often they asked for ID. Often you could flash them like anything and the guy would let you in, but not at a place like RPM. But it was an all-ages was it a matinee? It was an earlier show. No, it wasn't a matinee. It was a nighttime show. I think it was a matinee because we started lining up around 2 in the afternoon. It was a bitter cold November day. And we waited for, for 5 hours out in the freezing cold just to get a good place to stand in the club. But in the end, it was worth it. just because I was witness to some things that happened at the show. Now, what had happened with the band at that time is they were just a bunch of pissheads. Like they were just drunk all the time. They they were very like tough fucking Scottish dudes, man. They were skinny, but they'd kick your ass. I have no doubt. Yeah, they're just drunk all the time, and I think it caused somewhat of a rift between the drummer. I guess the drummer got sick of it because their shows would end like they'd come out to play like an hour-long set and it'd be over in 15 minutes because they'd fucking trash everything, you know, and they're just a crazy band. But back then, anyway. So anyhow, we got in the place. It was good. The opening band was a band called the Bolshoi, and they were a very dramatic kind of late '80s new wave band. I don't know how to classify them other than that. They put on a good show. I've never listened to them since, and I hadn't listened to them before, but they put on a really good show. Yeah, fantastic. And anyhow, so they finished up, and it was just a great night. Like the night was going great, right? And I guess okay, so the drummer had quit, so they were using a drum machine as the drummer, and having been a musician who's had to do that, it kind of sucks. So, if you're really drunk and really angry, and your drum machine starts messing up, you're gonna start getting angry, and that's what happened. They played one. They finally got through one song, their first song. I don't remember the songs, but then they played the second song, and during the second song, they started getting aggressive with the crowd, and throwing shit at the crowd and stuff like that. They were crazy. And so by the time they got to the third song, I guess the drum machine fucked up and went back to the first song. So they ended up playing half the first song again, and then I guess halfway through they realized that's what was going on, and they just trashed the drum machine. They just destroyed it. They started throwing the bits out into the crowd, and anyhow, I guess they were pissing some people off, so people flipped them off or something like that. And the one guy, I can't remember who it was, the singer or the bassist. I'm not sure. You know what I mean. One of them got really pissed off, and they had a bunch of liquor and beer on stage, right? So he took a beer bottle on the edge of the stage and he smashed it on the edge of the stage, and he took the jagged end of the bottle and hucked it into the crowd, right? And now I was standing about 5 feet away from the girl who caught it in the face. And she got her cheek cut wide open. They had to rush her out and get her to the hospital. It was like a bad cut, man. And so then people were getting really pissed off and throwing stuff back at them and trying to get on stage to fight them. And they were using the stage to their advantage. The stage was quite high. And so they were like, probably the most brutal thing. Like there was a lot of glass throwing, a lot of bottle throwing. And probably the most brutal thing I saw was the guy who had chucked the beer bottle. he picked up a microphone stand. Now, I don't know how familiar many of you are with microphone stands, but a microphone stand is basically a light telescopic cylinder of metal that is connected to a base that, golly, it's about this big, about this thick, and it's solid as hell. Like you could, it's like a weight, like a dead weight. You know what I mean? Those things you put on the muscle dummy bars. And so yeah, I saw. So what he did is he took that and he just fucking smashed it into the crowd. And when he raised it up again, I knew he'd fucking taken somebody out because the bar, like the microphone stand itself, was bent in a big U, and the base was off of it. Immediately the security people jumped into the audience because somebody was going to pick this thing up and throw it back at them. And the security was idiotic. Like they were defending the. I guess they're hired to defend the band, but the audience took a beating from this show. And yeah, so this woman, I don't know what happened up near the stage where the guy got hit and stuff, but it just looked brutal. The woman who got the cut on her face had to be rushed to the hospital, of course, and the show was over in less than 10 minutes. Like, we'd waited all day to get in this show, and it lasted 10 minutes. Granted, there's no way it could have gone along further, but holy moly, it was brutal. Anyway, the woman who got hit in the face, she pressed charges, I guess. Because what happened is that right after this, the guys in the band just took off stage and went and sat in their van, and ate cans of beans or something like that. That was something I remember reading in the paper. They were sitting in their van eating beans and waiting for the cops to show up. So yeah, it was pretty brutal, and they were banned from Canada for quite a long period of time. I'm not exactly sure on how much time. They're allowed back in now. They've played here lots of times since then. I'm sure they're on much better behavior when they come here now. But I think they're on much better behavior in general. So, but yeah, so that's a crazy band story from before I was in bands. So there you go. Part of my musical education, that was. Oh, and the coolest part about it was the next day I went into my social studies class, which I guess is like a civics class or something like that. I don't know. And it was in the paper. It was like fucking big news on the Toronto Star, right? And so our teacher, who ironically his name was Mr. Matz, and his first name was Jim. Jim Matz. He was a really cool teacher. He was probably the coolest teacher in the school. But yeah, so he pulls out this news article, and he's like, holy moly, this crazy event happened last night, and all this stuff happened at it. And I said, yeah, I was there, man. I went to that gig, and I saw the woman get cut. And so he had me stand up in front of the class and talk about the gig like I'm talking about it to you now. Yeah, it was truly crazy. So anyhow, yeah, there's just another story coming down the line on the Dirty Pat Walsh channel. I very much appreciate you watching and all your support and all that. Sorry for the long-winded say nothing vlog I made this morning. I had the urge to make a vlog. I just didn't have anything good to talk about. But thanks for watching if you did. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to think up more stories like that, because music's been a crazy life for me, man. It's been a real crazy life. But all right, be well, everybody. I hope you're having a blessed, wonderful day.